Hi there. I want to tell you about a woman I'll call Renee. Renee had tried to lose weight and get moving more times than she could count. Every January, every Monday, every day, a new plan. Every plan, a real burst of effort. And sometimes she'd lose a little. And then slowly, quietly, it would all creep back up. So by the time Renee sat across from me, she wasn't even upset about it anymore. She was flat. She looked at me and said, "What's the point? I always end up right back where I started." So that flatness has a name, and it's not laziness. It's not a lack of willpower or discipline. What Renee was describing, that quiet giving up, it's hopelessness. So I'm Dr. Bev Smallwood again. I'm a psychologist, and in more than 40 years of doing this work, I've sat with a lot of people who had quietly given up on their health, on their marriage, on a dream, and not because they didn't care, but because they'd run out of hope. So I believe in the power of real hope. I believe it so much that I even named my clinic the Hope Center. And here's what I've learned over the years: hope's not what most of us think it is. We've gotten it all wrong, and getting it wrong is part of the reason we stay stuck. Hope isn't a wish. We tend to treat hope like a feeling, like a mood. I hope it works out. Fingers crossed. Well, that kind of hope is passive. It just sits in a chair and waits for life to hand it something. But that's not real hope. Real hope isn't passive. Real hope does something. And even in scripture, hope was never wishful thinking. Biblical hope is confident expectation, something solid enough to lean your whole weight on. That's a different thing than just crossing your fingers. So let's talk about the science. What hope is really made of. A psychologist named Dr. Rick Snyder spent his whole career studying the question of hope. And what he found is so practical and change how you live. Dr. Snyder discovered that real hope has three working parts. Think of them like the parts of an engine. You need all three, or you're not going anywhere. The first one is this: a goal, something specific that you actually want. Not a vague, I wish things were different, but a real, nameable target. Number two, willpower. Snyder called this your sense of agency. In plain terms, it's the belief I can do this. It's that inner yes, the emotional fuel to keep going when it gets hard. Number three is way power. These are your pathways. You have to make an actual plan, real routes to get there, and the ability to find a new route when one road gets blocked. Hope, Snyder said, is the goal plus the will plus the way. Take away any one of these three, and hope collapses. So here's why all of this matters so much. Hope is what gets you to actually act. Because if you don't believe you can, you won't try. Why would you? Trying would just be setting yourself up for one more disappointment. Let's look back at Renee. She had the goal, but what she had lost was the belief, the willpower. After enough disappointments, she'd stopped believing any plan would work for her. So she stopped making them. There went the way. No will, no way. So no movement. She wasn't broken. Her hope was broken. Hope, hopelessness, and your mental health. That's why hope is about so much more than your goals. It's tied to your mental health because for decades, researchers have found a strong correlation between hopelessness and depression. When a person loses the sense that anything can change, that's often when the heaviness moves in and settles in. So, if that heaviness has been sitting on you for a long while, hear me, that's worth talking to someone about. A doctor, a counselor, someone you trust. You don't have to white knuckle it by yourself. And here's some more hopeful news, though. The research also gives us the knowledge that hope can be learned. It's not a personality you're either born with or stuck without. Hope can be rebuilt on purpose. So that's exactly what Renee and I did. And notice we didn't start with a diet, we started with hope, all three pieces. We rebuilt the goal. We made it small enough to be real, not lose 40 pounds. Her first goal was simple, just move my body 10 minutes, 3 days this week. It was specific. She could do it. It was real. Then we rebuilt the willpower. We took all those failures she carried around and we renamed them. They were not proof that she couldn't, they were just data. Each one had something to teach her about what works for her and what doesn't. That reframe alone lifted her shoulders. And then we rebuilt the way power. We built a plan with a first step that she could see. And by the way, you don't have to have the whole plan. You can just have a next step and then you'll see the next. So we did rebuild that first step that she could see where, when, shoes by the door the night before. And we built a backup route for the day it rains or life falls apart because I hope people don't quit when the first road closes. They just take the next one. And then Renee took step one, just step one. So hope keeps a secret. You don't need the whole staircase. As I said, you just need that first step. So watch how it works. You take an action, and that action creates evidence. The evidence rebuilds your belief, and the belief fuels the next step. Action, evidence, belief, around and around and around. That's the loop. That's how hope grows. Not by waiting until you can generate some hope and feel some hope. You act your way into it. So, what about Renee today? It's not a dramatic before and after photo, but it's better than that. She walks now, most days. She still has setbacks, but the difference is she expects them now instead of being leveled by them. But the biggest change in Renee isn't her body, it's her eyes. That flatness, the what's the point is gone. She got her hope back. And when she got her hope back, she got her future back. So now it's your turn. Let me ask you an honest question. Where have you gone flat? Where have you quietly decided what's the point about your health, your work, a relationship, a dream you've shelved? This week, I want you to do three small things. Name one goal, specific and small enough to actually start. Then catch the lie that you can't do it and challenge it. And then take step one, just one. So, if you would, as you do this, I want you to drop your step one in the comments. Say it out loud. There's something powerful about naming it where someone else can see it. And while you're there, hit that subscribe button. So now let me remind you that hope is not a wish. Hope is a goal, a belief, and a plan, and the courage to take that first step. You can rebuild it. I've watched people do it for over 40 years. I've done it myself, and I'm telling you, so can you. So until we meet again, I want you to keep going, keep growing, and you'll come out stronger on the other side. I'll see you in the next video.